Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Christy. That is Matt, and that is Alonso. I am woman. Hear me roar.
Yes, you are.
I am indeed, but it's also a movie. It's a biopic about Helen Reddy.
Boy,
Alonso,
howdy is it.
tell us about it.
For you younger viewers who weren't around to listen to the radio in the 1970s, Helen Reddy was a huge star coming out of Australia. This movie sort of follows her from her arrival in New York as a single mother in the late 1960s, taking us all the way through the late 80s. Over that time, she does a lot of things you see in a lot of music biopics, which is she gets turned down, she gets a break, she becomes super famous, she's in a marriage with a guy who does too much cocaine. Along the way, she befriends a rock journalist who then dies. Like, all this stuff actually happened, and all of it sort of feels very biopic-y, but it does feature one of my favorite young actresses, Tilda Cobham-Hervey, in the lead role. I saw her in a film at Sundance a few years ago called 52 Tuesdays, and I remember at the time thinking that she was going to be sort of the next kind of like international ingenue, Carey Mulligan, like people wanting to cast a bright young woman in their films. And we haven't really seen a lot of her in the U.S. Like, I think the main other movie that people know her from here, if they know her at all, is Hotel Mumbai. But she's quite good. She is not doing the singing, but neither is Helen Reddy. They've cast somebody else to provide the singing voice. And, this is kind of by the numbers, but it's a good chance to see a lot of 70s fashions. Mm-hmm. And Danielle Mcdonald, who plays rock journalist Lillian Roxon, I'd never heard her in her native Australian accent before, mm-hmm. so that was exciting. Evan Peters plays the cokey husband, and that's it is what it is, I guess.
Now let's remember, for those that don't know, Jeff Wald, who was the husband, and her manager, also managed Sylvester Stallone, and
yes.
is somewhat infamous for having what was arguably maybe the biggest coke habit in Hollywood at the time, because when they divorced, it came to light that he was spending something like $100,000 a year on coke. So
and sadly, this is like a common thing of, women in entertainment whose husbands managed their business and then took all of their money. Like, it happened to Debbie Reynolds, it happened to Doris Day. Like, it's sadly a trope in real life of what happened. And it's sort of hard to tell that story without, it's the John Carter of Mars thing. It's hard to tell this story when we've seen this story so many times, even though at one point it was new and different and unique. And so, a lot of Helen Reddy's story kind of follows the path of, again, we've talked about the problem of making a music biopic post Walk Hard. It's like, so it's just been done a lot, and it's hard to make it seem different. But, I think it then comes down to the details of who's in it and how good are they. And this is a really good cast, I think.
And I think one of the things it does well is contextualize, part of why I Am Woman as a song did so well is that it came out at the time the women's movement was hitting so hard, at the ERA movement was hitting so hard, and it became this anthem. And I think, I like that we caught this right after watching Mrs. America.
I was thinking that too, to see the story from that perspective. This is a scene where a couple different scenes where she's watching television and you see the actual Phyllis Schlafly. Not Kate Blanchett with the swoop.
Well, and then we have the Glorias coming up soon too.
Oh, true, yeah. I'm going to watch it again. Yeah. So I have to have a full disclosure here before I say anything about this movie, and that is that I grew up with Helen Reddy's son.
Oh, wow.
So Jordan, who we see in the movie, I went to school with him from 1st through 5th grade. I've known him since I was 5 years old, and we are still good friends.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. So I knew her. We knew all of this. And this was in the late 70s, when she was a superstar. And I know his dad. What's that?
Superstar.
Yes. And so I know this time, this is all very familiar to me. And Jordan's also a co-producer on it.
Yes.
Having said that, though, yeah, it does hit a lot of the biopic tropes, you know, as you say, Alonso, and this is something we talk about all the time. It's really, really hard, you know, to see any movie after Walk Hard. I love Walk Hard so dearly. I talk about it all the time. We quote Walk Hard around here all the time. And so, yeah, it does things like the montage of her playing larger and larger crowds.
The Billboard charts.
There's that, but not just the Billboard chart, but like you see Lillian Roxon holding a copy of Billboard, and then you see her finger pointing to where I Am Woman is on the chart. And then you see her again later on in the montage pointing higher up on the Billboard chart because I Am Woman is doing better now. And things like that are really frustrating. There's got to be a better way to depict the rise of a musical superstar like that.
Especially when this movie is so wobbly about telling you what year it is, which I think would really be helpful. I felt a lot of times I was like, when are we exactly? Like, unless you really know Helen Reddy's career and when her summer TV show was and when, you know, this became a hit. Like, I would have loved some more years on the screen, because after like between 1969 and 1978, you're sort of left on your own. And even though there are a lot of these sort of her rise to the top montages.
Yeah. But despite all that, what sets this apart and makes this watchable and makes this
wave to Gabe.
Hi, Gabe. Is that Tilda Cobham-Hervey has this really lovely, hi Gabe, lovely warm presence about her. And there's a tenderness to this that like softens some of the cliches and makes this movie more engaging perhaps than that structure might suggest. She's really good in this. I know she's not singing, but she's got a lot of the same kind of stage presence and some of the same kind of swagger and the same mannerisms and the same kind of just the way she holds herself or like tosses off a line. But beyond I Am Woman, you know, a lot of her songs were about strong women or women struggling through situations and finding their strength in a time when, as she's even told by the executive at Mercury or whatever, you know, nobody wants a female singer, you know, they want the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or Deep Purple or whoever, you know, and she's still, and yet she perseveres and yet she persists. And so I think in terms of walking the talk of her songs, that's a really interesting part of this film as well. So yeah.
And Chelsea Cullen is the singing voice of Helen Reddy, and Helen Reddy has one of those distinct voices in the way that like Karen Carpenter does, where there's kind of an edge in there that is hard to duplicate. And there were a lot of times in this movie that I thought she was singing to recordings.
Same.
So Chelsea Cullen, never heard of you before, but you're doing a really good job of impersonating that thing that Helen Reddy does that was unique to her as a singer.
Evan Peters is really good in this too. He's Quicksilver in some of the more recent X-Men
Now we know
movies.
how he's Quicksilver. All that coke.
He was season 1 of Pose. I don't know if you were watching any of that.
I've never seen Pose, but he's Quicksilver. I thought he was good because that could have been sort of a cliche performance, you know, of like the schmaltzy, swaggering, fast talking, you know, high energy entertainment manager, and there was more to him than that. I was impressed by that performance.
It's okay. There were moments early on where I was like, oh, I see I can already see what this trajectory is going to be, not even knowing the story or who the real guy was. So he's kind of like, again, he's walking in a more established path than Cobham-Hervey is in terms of bringing life to these characters and to these situations, but he's fine.
We should mention that Unjoo Moon directed this. We didn't say that word yet.
Who did a very crowd-pleasing, also music-related film called The Sapphires that was released here but was huge in Australia, apparently.
Well, and also she did The Zen of Bennett. She did that documentary about Tony Bennett a few years back.
Right.
Anyway, it's a good time to revisit Helen Reddy. Go watch This Is America, then watch this.
Yes, and then get the Greatest Hits album.
And then watch Pete's Dragon.
Oh, I was in school with Jordan when Pete's Dragon came out. It was a huge deal.
They leave Pete's Dragon out of this movie entirely, which I was
very
a little
sad.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm
so for that,
7.
for that I give it a 7. Where's the Pete's Dragon?
Yes. You said 7 also? No, you said 6.5, Alonso.
Oh, I did. Oh, sorry, 6 point. Yeah, even less than for Pete's Dragon.
All right, 6.8 is our number.
So thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're talking about HBO's The Vow and Lovecraft Country, and you can vote on which Diana Rigg classic we'll be reviewing later this month. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.